welcome back to Mickey Car Beauty. I'm Mickey, and today I'm finishing up part 4 of the tweed collection from Chanel. And on my eyes, I have the Le 4 Ombre Tweed 04 Tweed Brune et Rose, and it's the Cool Tone palette. So today is the final review of the Chanel tweeds. I ended up getting all 4 of the quads, and I would say that this is such a beautiful everyday quad. I used every color here, and I used this to start in the crease shade. For me, it is a little bit too light. So this definitely is the shade that's more of the workhorse on my eyes. And I used this to deepen up and then used this as a topper shade. So I'll go over the demo of what I did. I primarily used this shade here in the crease, and you can see that in the video that it barely shows up on my skin, but it's still a good crease shade to like put down as a base. And then I went into the color that's second deepest in the palette to really deepen up the color. And I would say I would used this shade as the majority of my crease shade as well, just to deepen up, and it really worked that product to deepen the crease. And then I used the deepest color, it's just this really pretty brown, to and put in my outer V area. The mobile lid, I actually put down, you can see the Pat McGrath Intensifies Wand product, and that actually helps with products that are a little bit glittery or doesn't have much tack to it. So I've used this palette before, and at the end I'll show another picture of the look I completed and posted on Instagram. But I found that if I just used a brush, the impact of that glitter pink shade did not show up very much on me. And then in the end, I just ended up using curling my lashes, and then using the Tom Ford liquid eyeliner, and then on the top, and then using Graphite Chanel at the bottom just to kind of round out the look. And then using Chanel Volume de Chanel mascara for volumizing at top, and then my MAC Giga Black on the bottom. And then using the Surratt pomade eyebrow gel to just trim out my eyes and fill up the color. How I finished the look is actually put some of the Chanel Water Fresh blush on, and the color, I used the color Intense Coral. For the bronzer, I went in with the Le Beige Oversized Healthy Glow Sun Kiss Powder and Sun Bath Deep. Really good to like add a little bit more to my face. And then for the final lip look, I ended up using one of the new Chanel Rouge Allure nudes from the new collection. They released a whole bunch of nude colors that was really inclusive, which was really great. And because of this is such a cool tone look, I used the color 196 Et Demi Mont. And I have a link to those reviews, and I'll link above and below if you'd like to see that. So in the end, I ended up with this look, and here's a close-up of the look. Really beautiful. I'm really happy with it. This is probably, other than the purple one, this is like the only other cool tone look of the quads of this 4 quad series. And yeah, and I'll put a picture here now of another look that I did. This is probably my first Chanel look with this quad, and I'll put that here. And I used that probably like a week or 2 ago when I posted it on Instagram. I didn't film it, and it was just me playing with the quad and just seeing how deep I could get it. But today I have it like a little bit more just daytime friendly, work friendly, and one could easily smoke this out more if they wanted with that color, or I'd recommend using one of those kohl eyeliners just to smoke out and shape out the eye more. But this is a very, this is a very daytime friendly look. Really cool, very kind of goof proof. And I would say, so this is the final look. I'm really happy with it. So at this point, I've reviewed all 4 of the quads, all 4 of them. And then I would say that this is probably my favorite one. And it was surprising because I didn't think I was going to like the cool tone one. It's very similar to a lot of quads I have, but it's also one I could see traveling with. Super, super easy. And I would say the second one that I like out of this series is actually the tweed cuivre, the copper one, and it's that one here. Oops, this one here. And that was the first one I reviewed. And you can see as one gets to use it, it'll start to lose that tweed embossing, but that's okay. But this is the one I probably have used the most. So I'm kind of putting it aside because I don't want to, these are on my top shelf right now, and these are the quads I've been reaching for. And then I would say, you know, this wasn't a favorite to many, but I love the color story. My third favorite was probably the Tweed Pourpre, the purple one. And it was a little disappointing for some people because there's not enough contrast. And I agree. I wish they kind of like either had a glitter topper here, and then between these two shades, these two, they look very similar. There's not much depth between those two, as you can see. But you can see also, like, this is one of my favorite colors is the purples, purple pinks. I just wish they put a different color in there for depth. But I like it because I could see this, for me, this is using this as like an everyday easy look, and I have a lot of these colors in my clothing, and so this is kind of like an easy, it could be like a one and done, or just using two of these and being really happy with the look. And so that was my third favorite one. And then the fourth favorite one is the one I just reviewed a week ago, and it's the Tweed Fauve, the tawny one, and it's this warm tone one. And I would have to say, like, between this copper and the Fauve, these two are the most creamy ones, the Fauve and the copper. I'll show you. So these two are probably the creamiest in terms of formula, but I like this more just because it's more bronzy and fall. I mean, this is fall in the orange, but I'm okay with this one. It's just that it's nothing special. It looks okay on me. I just have this color story over and over in my collection. But in terms of the creaminess, I think this and the copper one is probably two of the creamiest ones in this collection. The other Pourpre and the Brunette Rose is not very creamy. It's like a standard eyeshadow. So the creamy formula of this is nice, but I can see myself like not reaching for this as much, but I'm going to make myself because this is definitely a fall palette and I don't want these to go to waste. But you know, that's my ranking. I love the Brunette Rose first, and then the Copper Cuivre, and then the Pourpre, the purple one, and then the Fauve is my least favorite. If you're wondering if you have this palette already, then you can kind of make a decision based on the swatches I'm gonna use here. So those are the swatches. It's definitely a cool tone palette, as you see. And you can see that top shade, that the pink one is probably the most crumbly out of them. And the rest of them are kind of like satiny shades. I immediately thought of the Star Aura palette, and this is the Charlotte Tilbury Star Aura, and it's well loved and well used. I wish they did not make this limited edition because I absolutely love this quad, and I have to put it away because I'm starting to pan it, and that rarely happens with my eyeshadows, so it really shows you how much I'm loving that shadow palette. So I'm just doing some comparisons here. And the formula is so much more buttery, and you can see that it has more pigment, and it actually, for me and my skin tone, that pink shade, that bottom one here, it definitely pops on me more. So this is one of my favorite quads. I actually might be looking for a backup of that because I know it's limited edition. So this is one of my favorite quads, cool tone quads. So if you have this, I don't think you would need this, but again, this is limited edition, just to know. And the other one that I thought of would be Tom Ford First Frost, which is very frosty and pink, and I don't have that anymore because I really didn't actually like that quad. So that's one that's very similar. The other one I was thinking was Tom Ford New Dip. Such a lovely cool tone palette. Again, one of my favorite cool tones palettes, just because of the formula. And then we'll put that up here. Very similar. There's maybe this one is close to this, but it's a different formula altogether. That's that wet dry formula, and almost has like a purple sheen to it, purple and pink. I'll compare those for you to look at. Very similar vibe. again, a different formula. I think these come off creamier on the eyelids. And then I have 3 more quads that look very similar to this. So the 5 Couleur Couture Atelier of Dreams. This was the limited edition holiday palette, Atelier of Dreams, 739 House of Dreams from last year's Dior holiday collection. And it's this quad right here, so, or quint rather, and it definitely leans more, there's like more pinks in there, but definitely similar. And it's got that silver center shade, which is kind of the showstopper shade in this entire palette. But I won't swatch that because there's no silver one on this. Let me do some swatches down here. So more, I think this is more similar in terms of color story perhaps, but the thing about Dior is that these quints are definitely more shimmery on the lids and more forgiving. What's kind of cool is actually they both have embossing, and unfortunately the Dior, the facade like of the House of Dior in France is like, that was the embossing and it's starting to wear down. And a lot of people have this one, my Going Coconuts palette. I love this palette. I think it's like my favorite ColourPop palette. Going Coconuts, it's like a cool tone, a lover's dream. Okay, so those are the swatches. I'm gonna swatch it kind of next to it. Ooh, that was very crumbly, but it's a very nice shimmer shade. It's actually very similar to that. It actually looks more pigmented than the Chanel one. Such a great palette. And the last palette that's pretty obvious, but it's a lot bigger, to a dupe of this Brune et Rose palette, is the Natasha Denona Glam palette. And this is such a beautiful cool tone palette. And this is one I think of like cool tone palettes, like the biggest one is probably this one. I hardly reach for the ColourPop one anymore because this one is like reigns supreme. So let me do some swatches of the ones where I think there's some dupes. Okay, so these are similar colors from Natasha Denona, and it really different formula. These are super pigmented, and the Chanel one is very much more ethereal. This is such a nice creamy formula. I think this is like one of the best Natasha Denona palettes. Like, it's so user-friendly, super, like, this is probably my favorite one. And then you could probably guess what my second favorite one is, and also a Natasha Denona cool tone palette. But yeah, those are it for my comparisons. I would say that if you have any of these palettes, you don't need this, but if you're a collector and you must have all Chanel and you want a cool tone Chanel product, quad, this is a really nice one to get. Again, it's my favorite one. And what I do like about this is that although I love the Natasha Denona palette, I don't really want to travel with it because I know it's the same price point because Chanel's luxury beauty, but I don't know if I would travel with that Natasha Denona palette just because I'd be so afraid if it would break. And it's also just like huge. It's a huge palette, so I don't want that taking up space. Whereas the nice thing about quads and quints are that they're easy to travel with. So yeah, that's it for my review. I hope you enjoyed all of the Chanel tweed reviews that came out. I'll link all the videos to the Chanel tweeds reviews below, and then also to the lipstick, the Chanel Rouge Allure nude lipsticks that I picked up this season. There were 5 of them, so it's part of a collection. I hope you found it useful or you learned something, and if you tried the collection of the tweeds, let me know which one is your favorite. And if you haven't done so already, please consider liking and commenting below. It really helps out my channel, and consider sharing the video with a friend or reposting it. And if you feel so compelled, I would love to have you part of the Midikar Beauty Fam and have you subscribe and ring the notification bell. As always, Beauty Fam, please take very good care of yourself and others, and just be you. And until the next video, take care, Beauty Fam. Bye.